Republicans are organized around their support for Trump, showing 80% plus backing of him and his agenda. Democrats are just as unified by opposition to him. The poll shows 92% of likely Democratic primary voters strongly disapprove of Trump's job performance, and the opposition is just as intense on his handling of the economy, immigration, and the war against Iran. That is a remarkable level of intensity. It means Trump is not just unpopular with Democrats, he's like the central villain, as he has been for pretty much every election in the last decade among Georgia Democrats.
Yes, I think also we're seeing national polling that indicates independents and even some Republicans are deeply wary of the president's policies right now. And I think that is going to be especially important to the Jon Ossoff race. I think because he is a federal official, and of course, obviously to the House races as well, because he's a federal official, that November contest with Jon Ossoff against an unknown Republican at this point will come down to, do you want more of President Trump's policies or less of President Trump's policies? Ossoff is positioning himself as a very clear check on the president's powers and imploring people to vote for him because if they could get a Democratic Senate, keep him in there and swing some other Democratic seats, that would represent an entirely new world for the president to be operating within. And I think that's also why Ossoff has been so unapologetically against the president since before we saw this kind of polling. His very first, as he calls them, his rally for the Republic, right after President Trump was reelected here in Georgia, Ossoff came out incredibly aggressively against him. I didn't know at the time if that was going to be smart politics for a freshman Democratic senator in an election cycle, and events have proven that that has been smart politics. I also think it's also how Jon Ossoff feels about the president, and he's in very good company among Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, especially for a Democrat who has to rely on winning at least some Trump voters to win re-election. And you're right, he made that gamble or that bet. I don't know, he probably doesn't see it as a gamble or a bet, but he made that calculated decision very early. And this poll shows, look, 92% strongly disapprove of Trump overall. That is the way Democratic emotion and sentiment is feeling. And just as many, a huge number of independents are also feeling that way too. And those are the sort of deciders that will help decide this election. Patricia, it also showed that the top issues, inflation, cost of living, healthcare, economy and jobs, the bottom issues, immigration, abortion, crime, among likely Democratic voters, incredibly pessimistic outlook. 79% say the economy is only going to get worse. Young voters tend to be the most pessimistic. So if you want to use this as sort of a barometer on where things stand among Democrats, the outlook is dim, obviously very anti-Trump, but also very against the different foreign and domestic policies that are at the center of his agenda.
I think also this is where some Republican candidates are going to be facing headwinds that were not of their own creation because the president has affirmatively gone into Iran, which has spiked gas prices unbelievably quickly. And we're hearing from the Trump administration, those are not going to go back down under $4 a gallon for quite some time in terms of a national average. Also, the tariffs from the Trump administration have just quite simply driven prices up. So in a year when we know that inflation and the cost of living has been the top issue for voters across the board, the fact that the president has made some specific policy choices that have driven prices up in a way that is very, very painful for most people, not the ultra wealthy. At the same time, the president has been really focused on, in addition to the war in Iran, building a ballroom, building a new ark in Washington. I think it's just creating an image that is very uncomfortable for Republicans to feel like they're going to have the wind at their backs. It feels very much like they've got heavy, heavy headwinds that are created by the president when it really didn't have to be that way.
Yeah.